Getting sued during a debt settlement program can be beyond annoying, but is it worth it paying for the legal plans to help prevent that? Well, today we're going to cover whether or not it's really worth paying for those legal plans and how to figure that out. So let's get started. Welcome to the Ascend Finance YouTube channel, where we try to help folks get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. My name is Justin, and today we're going to cover a few things. First, we're going to cover debt settlement legal plans. Second, we're going to cover is it worth it? And third, we're going to cover is debt settlement best. Before I get started, I do want to say that if this video is helpful, we would super appreciate a like and a subscribe, as we're constantly trying to put out more videos that can help people get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster by making the most informed decision. Now, stick around until the end of the video, as I'm actually going to provide 5 questions that are crucial to ask yourself when trying to figure out whether debt settlement's right for you. Now, keep in mind, this video is purely made for informational purposes only. It should not be construed as advice or legal advice in any way, shape, or form. That being said, let's dive into what debt settlement legal plans are and how they work. Now, with the process of doing debt settlement, you oftentimes need to be close to 6 months behind on an account in order for the creditor to really have any incentive to want to settle. Right? And so with that being said, the creditor may have the right to file a debt collection lawsuit against you for an unpaid debt, right? And so debt settlement companies are now offering legal plans, or they've been doing this for some time now, but they offer legal plans that you can pay for that will provide legal assistance in case an account goes into litigation. However, is it worth it? Well, let's cover that now. To figure out whether debt settlement legal plans are really worth it, you'd want to first understand the risk of you being sued and whether or not you need an attorney to respond to the lawsuit if they do sue, or if the debt settlement company is actually able to settle that lawsuit on their own. So let's go through an example to kind of look at. So let's say a person named Mike, right? Let's say Mike has $50,000 in debt and owes that to 5 creditors, right? The $50,000 is spread between 5 creditors. And that, let's say the creditors are Amex, Capital One, Chase, Discover, and Bank of America. Right. And then based on this situation, it seems like they happen to have some creditors that may be considered as more litigious, right? A little bit more aggressive. They tend to sue more often than not, potentially, right? And furthermore, let's say all 5 of them in this case are very high risk, right? Let's just say they're super high risk. I'm not saying that's the case for these creditors, but let's just assume they are for this example. Then, right, it may be worth it to consider the legal plan if these are all super, super high risk, and it may be helpful to have an attorney that can resolve these lawsuits if that were to happen. Right? There's a whole other thing to look at on whether it actually makes sense to do debt settlement if that's the case, but nonetheless, right? Let's look at another example though, right? Let's just say the same person, Mike, actually it was $10,000, right? We had it wrong. Let's say it's actually $10,000 in debt and he owes it to a low risk creditor. It's just one creditor he owes 10 grand to and a very low risk. And then the debt settlement company may still bring up the legal protection plan, but is it worth taking it if you only owe one creditor and it's a super low risk creditor? Not sure. That's up to you, but it's definitely something to consider. Finally, I actually want to cover whether or not debt settlement is realistically a good option or not. So I wanted to cover 5 questions to ask yourself to help gauge if you're a good candidate for debt settlement. That's kind of what I was referring to earlier about sticking till the end. So let's go through those 5 questions. First question you can ask yourself is, am I going to fall behind on this debt soon if I don't do anything? Okay, so what I'm asking is, do I need to do something about this debt? Like, am I going to have to start picking and choosing between these bills? Okay, and the reason why this can be such a good question to ask yourself is because with debt settlement, you generally need to be quite a few months past due on the debt in order to find the relief from the program. Now, you can sign up while you're still current, but the company may ask you to stop paying. So when you do that, it can include credit score impact, risk of being sued, the potential tax obligations, right? And so if you're not necessarily seeing that you'll need to fall behind, then it may be worth considering other options as well. Just considering, comparing, right? You may land on debt settlement still being your option. But my point is, if you don't need to fall behind, just maybe look at everything and figure out what's best. But that's up to you. So, second question you can ask yourself is, do I qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Now, Chapter 7 can actually oftentimes be cheaper, potentially could be easier, and it could be much faster. However, it is important to understand whether you'd have any assets that you'd be at risk at losing, and in that case, it'd be really important to speak with an actual bankruptcy attorney, right? And they can estimate that. But it could be something to ask yourself, right? Is Chapter 7 actually something I qualify for, and would that be actually cheaper, easier, and faster than me signing up for a debt settlement program? Maybe, right? So another thing to ask yourself. Now, I will say if you don't actually see yourself falling behind soon, then this question's a little bit more towards you. And this is the third question. Is all of my debt credit cards? Right? So what you're asking yourself, is it a mix between personal loans and credit cards? Is it payday loans? Is it medical bills, right? Or is it just credit cards? Because the reason you're asking yourself that is if you're able to keep making the minimum payments, but you're not actually seeing that you're actually going to have to fall behind, there actually may be other options that could allow you a way to get out of the debt in 2 to 4 years by maybe just getting help on the interest rates, right? So if you're like, I can make the payments, I'm making no progress on the debt, that's why I'm looking at debt settlement. My point is, if it's just credit cards, there could be other options, right? And you can call us at 833-272-3631 if you want to chat. So, fourth question, am I tax solvent? Right? So you'd most likely want to get more information on this actually from a tax expert or even the debt settlement company themselves. But there are times where people may owe money in taxes for the forgiven debt in a debt settlement program. So if you actually do end up owing money, you may find that the program wasn't actually as cost saving as you had in mind, right? Because when they calculate those debt settlement program monthly payments and the total cost, they're not considering any tax obligation, right? So ask yourself, am I tax solvent? Okay, the final question to ask yourself is, would this be the cheapest, easiest, and fastest way to get out of the debt, right? And so everyone's goal is different, right? You don't have to find the cheapest, easiest way, but something to ask yourself this, right? And the reason why I find this actually a really important question is because oftentimes individuals will see an option that sounds great, right? But they actually don't find themselves comparing to alternatives. But when you pause and ask yourself this question, it actually can really help you self-reflect on kind of whether or not you've researched all options, right? Because it can be key. It can be key to make the most informed decision. So if you have any questions on this and you want to feel super informed on this, do not hesitate to call us, right? You can reach us at 833-272-3631. Okay, I hope that this video was helpful in kind of guiding you through the ways to figure out whether or not debt settlement legal plans are worth it, right? I hope you have an amazing day.